Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. Today I'm going to be doing a task that is bonsai, but it is not bonsai. It is in the service of bonsai, and I'll show you what I mean. A while ago I talked about a new Penjing idea that I wanted to bring to life, and I've been thinking about it ever since. This is going to be a suburban scene, like when I walk my dog every day, but in my mind I have where my son lives in Berkeley, California. I took a lot of liberties with some of the components, but the idea that I want to convey is a sidewalk street with a curb, with a road surface that only some of it's going to be showing. Now, cutting it up this way gives me some planting areas, but the whole pot will not be a planting area. These will be slate squares. I've decided to use also slate, about 1/4 inch thick slate, cut long ways for the curb. I've got 2 metal storm drains that I'm going to fashion out of something that I found in the road. I did a video of that some time ago. So I haven't figured everything out yet, but I want to get started by cutting out the sidewalk squares. That'll be easy. I'll be using my tile saw, which has been in the garage since I finished the downstairs bathroom. Cutting the curb is going to be a little bit difficult because I need to figure out what the height of that is. I'm going to be making the road surface out of fiber cement board, the same board that sided my home. And I have some of that lying around, so I'm going to laminate some together to get a nice thick stable road surface, which I will then mount at the proper height in this large pot. And I'm going to affix the curb to the outside edge of that road surface, but the bottom piece of the road surface will stick out a little bit further so I have a place to rest the curb. I hope I'm explaining this. There will be a curb cut because there's going to be a driveway here. I've decided to change my idea. I'm going to put the walkway here, and I'm going to have it curve around to some stairs that go up. I'm searching for a scale mailbox. I did get a scale hydrant. That's very cool. I had in mind 4 Japanese Zelkova trees for this, but unfortunately only 3 are alive and only 1 looks good enough to put in this planting, so that's a bit of a setback. I'm trying to rethink what my street trees will be. I wanted them all the same, but that's not necessarily what you see when you walk out in Berkeley. I do have some dawn redwoods. That would be nice to give it the West Coast feel. I'm not sure what the driveway is going to be made of yet, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to do brick again for the walkway and the stairs. I'll try to do a slate top to the stairs if I can get a thin enough piece. I'm using roofing slate. Actually, no, this is not roofing slate. This is like paving slate, but it's more tile thickness than large pavers. So for my scale, it works out great. So that's enough talking about what this is going to be. I don't have all of the trees that I want to use in this, or things that will be growing on a landscape that you might not expect on a suburban landscape, but you may see as you walk your dog down a street like this. So I'm going to get started cutting these squares. All right, the first thing I have to do is square up 2 sides of this slate. These are going to be the sidewalk squares. This is a wet saw for tile. This blade will work with slate, I'm told. Now I just want to check it for square. Not so good. You see how that's open at the top? So I got to compensate for that just a little bit. How do I do that? I've got it pulled away just a bit at the bottom, and I'll hold it in place. That just means that this is not square with the blade, which is kind of okay. Check it for square. Oh, that's much better. Okay, let's do the other piece that way. Check it for square. Not bad, not bad. All right, so now I have to mark it. And I'm going to cut the size of the squares this way, and then I'll cut them in the other direction as well. According to my calculations, I have everything worked out, the scale worked out. There are two different methods I used for scale. This is the first one, this is the second one, and then I averaged them out. And I'm using a model Chevy and a model Ford that I have as the scale factor. 0.02544529262 and 0.008752735. Those are the scale factors that I applied to the scale that I want. And the reason I'm so nuts about this is that when I look at something that is supposed to be a certain scale and something isn't right, it just drives me crazy. So I'm going to adjust this to be the scale, the average scale for the sidewalk squares, which is 1.65. So I got 1.65 is right there, and I'll go back a little bit for the thickness of the pen. .65 minus the thickness of the pen, approximately. It's an average, so it doesn't matter as long as it's consistent. So I'll mark that in two spots, and then I'll rip this down to the line. You gotta be able to see the line. I'm gonna eyeball it on the one side. I don't think I want to trust this fence here. We'll see how it goes. pretty good. It's a little off, but it's close enough. Let's see how many of these I need. I'm going to need 16 of them. So let me cut the other one that I measured. I'll get 4 or 5 out of each piece. So that's 10, 15, 16. I'll cut 2 more sections. I'll cut them both out of... Well, let me go mark these and I'll be right back. All right, I got 4 pieces, approximately the same width. I'm just gonna have to cut them this way now to get my squares, and hopefully I'll have enough. I think I will. And I'll come back when I've got them all cut. All right, next I want to sand the edges of each tile. I've got 2 different colors and I think I'll alternate. You often see that in a, you know, if they're putting down natural slate. So I'm going to pick a top and sort of round out the corners of the top and also just take any nibs off the sides that I can find. This is 100 grit sandpaper. Giving it the once over. Okay, then I want to pick a top. This one has a nice textured top. They don't all though. So I'm just going to soften the corners of the top so I know to come back to this as the top. And I'll do that for all the pieces. And we'll come back and take a look at them when I'm done. Sorry about the shadow, but this is the layout. I've got the pieces of slate. I'll start with a light color one in the middle. I'll be leaving spaces. This is a suburban sidewalk in Berkeley, California. You have to mess with the pieces. This one's a little bit undersized. That's all right. Now, thinking about the driveway, I may just use pieces of that hardy plank siding, so I have something very stable to work with, and then I'm not sure what on top of that. Oh, that's handy. And then I'll cut this one into the pieces at the end, which I'll have to hand fit. So that's the first part of this Penjing, is the sidewalk. Then will come the road and the curb, and then I can start fitting this in a pot. This is going to be a multiple episode video, I'm sure, and it won't necessarily be in order. This will be removable, so I could plant these trees, and maybe the roots of the trees will pick up one of these, and it'll start to look very realistic. That's my hope anyway. Let me trying to figure out the road and the size that I need to make the curb pieces. They'll be about 20-foot or 18-foot pieces, scale 18 feet. Let's see. I didn't figure that out, but I'll try and figure out what 18 feet is, and then I'll make those sections, because that's what I see usually as sections of a curb, and then we'll figure out the storm drains after that. So there's my curb. This will be the road surface. Here's my curb cut. I'll have to mess with the heights a little bit to get them to line up. But that's going to be great. That's going to be great. It's my curb cut. It'll go into the driveway. I've got the slate pieces. Now I've got to cut this into the right size and shape and fit it to the pot. But that'll be for another day. Thanks for keeping me company in my backyard while I work on my new Penjing. Very cool.